Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Mama Tales, a podcast on our collective journey into motherhood. I'm Sally Kuria, your host. Thank you for being here. So I wanted to just start this episode today by talking about something that I may have hinted on the last episode, that's episode 8, about me kind of opening up and sharing about stuff that is not necessarily tied down to Mama Tales or motherhood, but just generally just me as a person, me as Sally. And I don't know, I've been battling a lot with self-doubt and just confusion, really. Like the doubt is coming from confusion. Let me explain. So there's a huge part of me that I don't know if a lot of people know about, but just the fact that I love cooking. I love cooking, and I think I have a very intimate relationship with my kitchen. And the crazy thing about like even me talking about like me loving cooking, it doesn't mean that I'm a good cook at all. In fact, I think I'm a very impatient person who likes to see quick results, especially in the kitchen, but I enjoy the entire process. So I cook at least twice every single day, and I enjoy every single second of it. So the reason why I bring it up is because last week when I talked about like separating Mama Tales and me, it wasn't just for me to now disappear back into the hole that I was in, like in terms of like sharing anything online, but kind of like showing this part of my life and everything else that I think I have been enjoying. I think last week I talked about the Olympics and my love for track and field, and I don't know if I've mentioned motorsports, but I like stuff like that. And I always felt like it would be great to share them, because I think I also mentioned in the last episode that I used to be a huge fan of sharing everything in my life, right? I had a whole YouTube thing going on there. So like right now what I'm suffering with is just confusion, right? Because of how fast things have changed. So before, when I used to do this stuff, like the videos and everything, there usually used to be 1 or 2 platforms to put this up, right? It was either Facebook and YouTube, and pretty much the same format could work either way, so I didn't have to think about too much. But now these days I'm like, I enjoy short form content. So that's on like Reels and TikToks. I don't know, can I create that? And if I want to, should I also just put them up on YouTube? But that's a different thing altogether, even just how you shoot stuff. Will I be doing double takes so that they fit here and there? What are the strategies for this? And why should I even be thinking about strategies if all I want to do is share? Because here's why I feel the need to share. I'm in nowhere an expert, just as with this episode, with this podcast, really. I'm not an expert on anything. If anything, it's just me learning. So even these videos, it's not a tips or how you should do this. It's literally just me doing me and me trying to navigate this culinary world that I am stepping foot in, right? And I get caught up in like the logistics and the mechanics of it, and I start doubting myself. So I have like a trove of videos that I've shot on my phone, but I'm struggling with doubt. I'm struggling with like, does anybody care? Do I really need to put this out there? Does it really matter even to just me? Like, what's the end goal to all of these things? I don't know. Whenever it is that you listen to this episode, whether it be this Saturday when I release it, or even a year away from now, it doesn't really matter. Whenever you do listen to this episode, if you can, just reach out to me and encourage me. Tell me that it's fine. I don't know if I want to hear that it's not fine. I'm not ready to hear that. I don't want to burst my bubble too soon, because I'm already too loud telling myself that it's not fine, So like I'm out here openly seeking support and encouragement. Anyway, so let me talk about this week's story. When I started editing it, a huge smile came to my face, and it stayed on there the entire time. I even texted the storyteller Namara and was just like, cheek, my face. It's just been a smile because of hearing her voice. So she's one friend that I truly, truly love. Like, it's really hard for me to say that about friends. Not that I don't love them, but I'm not the cuddliest person in this world. But this one, it feels effortless. Always effortless when I tell her that, because so Namara, I met her back in on 2017. Yes, she was onboarding me in our previous workplace. So she used to be like HR admin. In fact, this chick wore so many hats in that office. But yeah, at that point in time, she was HR admin. So, usually have this thing with HR. It's not a tea buddy all together, right? But I remember when I saw her, I was just like, how are you that? Because she didn't look it at all. But anyway, so it wasn't like right off the bat friendship. Until one time, so we both lived very far from the office. So the office is in Kilimani. I live in the outskirts of Nairobi. So she's come from Kiambu and I was coming from Roiro. So all of us who live very far, if you want to be anywhere at a respectable time, you leave before the sun rises, right? So we would always leave our houses very early and be in the office by like 7:30, right? So we used to be like the early morning gang. And one morning she comes in and, it's literally maybe like 4 people in the office or 3. She comes in and I can see from her face that she's had a really long morning. And before I even ask, she just opens her mouth and tells me the funniest story I think I had. I laughed so hard, so hard, like I had tears rolling down my eyes. Anyway, so apparently what happened to her that morning is that she, woke up just as usual and went to the stage. She had worn a really, really tight skirt, which she said that she should have put away in storage. So you were a really tight skirt, and as she was entering the matatu, her exact words were, her skirt exploded, like it burst open. Yani, the visual alone, thankfully, since the sun wasn't up, she was able to like after having a hilarious exchange with the Makanga, she was able to scurry her way back to the house and get a new skirt for her to come. But that story just broke it because I think we spent hours just laughing and making fun of her. So long story short, we became quite close, started working closely together. She was the first person, at least that I was consciously really aware of, around me that was pregnant. Right? Before then, I had one other friend who was pregnant, but I wasn't seeing her every day. But now, Namara is someone I was seeing every day. So what she did is that I was out of the country on a business trip with other guys, and we were scheduled to come back maybe a day or 2 later. So she sends me a message on Slack, and she's like, "By the way, I just thought I should let you know before you come here and get the shock of your life. I am pregnant." I'm like, I remember I texted her, like, pregnant with an actual child. That was my first reaction. And then she just texted back. She was just like, well, I hope it's an actual child. But yeah, because she was used to be like really tiny, and she had those pregnancies where it take a long time to show, right? So by the time she was telling me all these photos, she was 7 months along, and I was like, how did I not notice that she was... you're sitting right across from me. How did I not notice that? But anyway, so I think watching her entire journey through like pregnancy, well, the little parts that I was able to see, and like her talking about her experience was very unique because she went through a path that I don't know a lot of women go through. So you'll be able to hear that. And then even now, just seeing her hack life, right, and thrive and do the best that she can do for her son, like it's really been an amazing journey to watch, and I'm usually very thankful that she allows me to be part of it, and even like being part of this podcast. She has always been a really great support person. So if we start talking about Namara here, we will never hear her story, so I'll just stop there. And I think it's time now to just listen to Namara's story.
My name is Christine Namara, a single mom. My baby is 3, turning 4 in Feb. He is, I don't know if this is unfortunate or fortunate, but very much like me, which is a very scary thing. I'm not sure anymore if I'm if I'm happy or sad about it, but he has a very strong personality, which I didn't realize 3-year-olds had. He will say no, and that's like the end of the sentence. Like he's not going to stop to cook. Like he's not listening to you after that. So if he said no, it means no, and he's
Yeah.
gone. Or if he wants milk and he wants to drink two, he wants to drink two flavored milks, half of each, he will drink half of them and then he'll go. Like he's willing to consume of the consequences, which is very scary to me because I'm just like,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, but yeah, he's a very strong personality. Hope it works out for him.
Yeah. So
He's very
maybe take
versatile.
us back to the point
Mm,
where you found out
mhm.
that you're going to be a mom.
Oh, yo. Okay, so the night before I found out, I had gone perambulating with his dad. So we had gone to the club and drank a lot, like a copious amount of alcohol, which at the
Uh-huh.
time was regular for me. And I got home at like maybe 4:30, and I lived in Kiambu at the time. So I wanted to get to the office regardless. So regardless of my night, I would be at the office at 6:37 just to avoid traffic on Kiambu Road. So I
Mhm.
get to the office and the usual series of events was watch people at the club fighting, get breakfast.
Mhm.
But so this day I get there and I'm feeling really nauseous and I was like, hey, this must be alcohol poisoning. I'm not sure why I'm feeling so weird.
Mhm.
So I give it some time. I go buy a crest. I bought like a stony, but those two things for your stomach. I bought like maize. Like I tried everything and I'm still feeling very nauseous. So I was like, this is hella weird. It took me like an hour or two to convince myself that I should actually just go home, which I did. So I go home, but on my way there, it wasn't getting better. And this is like very odd for me because typically water, a soda would kill the hangover.
Yeah.
Mara moja, I'm good. It wasn't working. So I just said, you know what, let me go to hospital. Maybe I overdid it. Maybe I have an infection or whatever. And so I did. And so I'm sitting there and the nurse is like checking my vitals and he's blah, blah, blah. Then he asks me, when was your last period? And I'm like, oh, that's a great question. Um, and so I go onto my calendar, but it was normal for me to not have a period every month because I was very underweight, and so typically my hormones are like up and down.
Mhm.
So it wasn't like a huge concern if I didn't have my period. I'd just be like, yeah, okay, I guess this is just that one of those months. So he asks me, and I go to my calendar, and it was like, yeah, that's odd. Yeah, it's been a few months here. So it had been like maybe 2 months or even maybe a little more. And he was like, eh? And I was like, yeah. He says, okay. Okay. Let's just do a blood test and then, yeah, and then we'll see what's up. So I think in his head, he was just like, this chick is so dumb. Can't believe that she's can't believe she's here asking me about this. And like, okay, it's been 3 months. Of course you're anyway. So he goes, he the blood test, and then he's just like, okay, just go straight to the doctor. And I was like, yo, maybe I'm dying. Like at this point, I was just like, if it's something juju like that, like he didn't even have to do much, I must be dying. Like maybe I don't know. I don't know. Like what?
Yeah.
I'm dying. Anyway.
Mhm.
So I go in there and she's like, okay. So she asked me the same questions, when was your last period? And I was like, why are they insisting on my period? So just tell me why I'm dying instead of over asking me about it.
Yeah.
I was like, you're like idol. Stop it with my period. Anyway.
Mhm.
Then she tells me, yeah, so you're pregnant? And I laughed for what I thought was 45 minutes. Maybe it wasn't, but
Mhm.
I laughed for such a long time. I was just
Mhm.
like, wow, this is insane. This is yeah. So I laughed for a really good long time. And then she was like, how are you feeling about it? I was like, what's there to feel? Say I'm pregnant. So
Yeah.
there's nothing to feel. We're here. Let's carry on. So she talked for another like 15 minutes and I couldn't hear what she was saying. So I think she was telling me, this is how far along you are and whatever, da, da, da. But I
Mhm.
didn't hear any of the other shit she said after you're pregnant and how are you
Mhm.
feeling. I had already like zoned out and I was like, wow, 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 this is a disaster because I wasn't trying to get pregnant.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that was it. So I just went home. I didn't say anything to anyone and I slept for what I think was like over 24 hours. I just slept. I was like, you know what? You deserve a nap. You're never going to sleep again. So I
Yeah.
slept, I slept like 24 hours and I just like, I don't even know. I think for the next like week or so, even maybe 2 weeks, I was just like, I don't know. I was outside myself for a really long time. I felt
Mhm.
like I was watching myself because, yeah, it was not ideal. I was not trying to be pregnant. Yeah. So that was my finding out journey.
What was
Yeah.
going through your mind?
I had taken precautions. So like it's not like I was just like going around irresponsible. Like I had
Mhm.
literally taken P2s. Like I had counted like I had tried all the things that a regular person who is not trying to be pregnant does to not
Yeah.
be pregnant.
Yeah.
So for me, it was just like, wow, science decided to duck that dawa. And it was like, hey, science stepped to me. I was like, wow, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
in my head at this point, because I wasn't like in a thing with my son's father, not like, yeah, it was just one of those complex things. So I already knew that I was a single mom, and that was scary, right? So now my mind is immediately away from the emotional of like, okay, now you have to give birth, and all. Now I wasn't there. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
where am I gonna find money to exist as a single parent and raise this child? And then the second thing was, what am I going to tell my family about just having a random child with a random person who they will potentially never meet? And
Mm-hmm.
like that's what was happening in my head. So it was a little a bit about like my siblings mostly. My parents was like, they haven't really, in terms of like, they haven't supported me for a long time, so I didn't
Yeah.
really owe them an explanation. My siblings, who I spent more time with, would be a bit harder to explain how you, educated woman, knowing all about science,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
have gotten pregnant by mistake. Like, I say,
Yeah.
I give you a book, do I share with you a link? Like, how do I help you? So those are the thoughts in my head at the time. And then of course, like, okay, now I'm the one who has to work. And then, like, yeah, so all just the semantics around needing to work, needing to be pregnant, and then giving birth, and then coming back to work. So I was really thinking very structured thoughts. I wasn't
Yeah.
like, oh, I hope I have a family. There was no emotion. It was just like,
Mm.
let's figure out what next.
So this comes from like me knowing about your journey. I know you had a very different
Mm,
pregnancy and
mm,
birth journey
mm-hmm,
as opposed
mm-hmm,
to a lot of us. So
mm,
maybe you could just
mm.
shed a little bit of light on that because I know not a lot of people do that.
Yeah. So my sister had already had two kids, and she did most of her journey with a doula. So immediately I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and only because the few times I went with my sister, she did not treat her like a sick person.
Mm-hmm.
I already don't like hospitals. Like, it was really very logical, village-like approach to being pregnant. So she'd just be like, Ati, your back is paining. Do these stretches. You're feeling tired. Eat spinach. Like, it was very not medicine driven, and I
Yeah.
liked that. I didn't want to feel sick. I didn't have the luxury of feeling sick
Mm-hmm.
because I have to go to work, I have to pay bills. So I didn't have that luxury. I just wanted to be treated like a person who's doing some stuff. I could have spinach and apples and continue. So the doula for me was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
The thought was just like, how am I paying for her? But it was very flexible. My insurance even like paid me back at the end of my birthing experience
Mm-hmm.
for like 100K of it. So that was good. So I really knew that I just wanted to be treated like a normal person. Aside from being taken to the front of lines in banks and supermarkets, those are
Yeah.
the only privileges I wanted. I did not want to feel sick. I didn't want to see a doctor.
Yeah.
I didn't. I just wanted it to be like, this is one of the things that happens to women, and it's been happening forever, and just let my body do what it knows it's doing. And so, after I had finished laughing at myself and sleeping for 48 hours, I, immediately thought I knew I had to call her, which I did. I think actually I told her before telling anybody else. I hadn't really told anyone else. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to see her, and Ash was very excited because I always used to tell her, we will never interact on that level. Like, I'll bring my sister, I'll bring my friends, cousins, whatever, but it's not gonna be me. So she was very tickled. Anyway, but yeah, so I immediately knew I wanted to go to her, and so she really took me through and explained to me, the basics of what to expect, what to do. I think the only actual medication I took was the ones you take for the 3 months. I don't remember what they're called.
Folic acid.
Um, yeah, the folic acid. I only took folic acid that my entire pregnancy. And by the time I was finding out I was pregnant, the folic acid was low-key useless because I'd already, like, I was just at the 3 mark line. So it was like a bit redundant. I was pregnant for 3 months, just walking around this Nairobi, not knowing, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she walked me through that, and I did my entire journey with her. I would go see her every month, I think. And yeah, just tell her how I'm feeling. So if I'm feeling dizzy, if my back is hurting, if headaches. And a lot of the time, she was able to explain to me what was good. She explained most of the time, all of the time, she explained to me what was going on. and gave me very simple solutions. So I would get headaches and dizziness and things like that, which was really just a function of me eating smaller meals more often. So like carrots, which I always had, or some, fermented, blah, blah, blah. And that worked out pretty good. So I only went to see a doctor when I was doing my scan. I think it's normally 20 weeks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the only time I went to a hospital. Ideally, you're supposed to do another one closer to the birthing date, but I was like, just he's in the right position, his heartbeat is fine, I'm fine. I didn't want to go to another hospital, which I didn't. And then I did a home birth. Well, not home, but a birthing center and a water birth. I have nothing to compare it to, so I wouldn't say it was easier. I don't have a comparison, but it was for me the exact environment I needed. Like I said, I don't like hospitals. I don't want to be treated like I'm sick. So it was really nice to just have, a speaker in the room playing the music that I like with candles on. There's a big bath of warm water with essential oils or whatever. And it's just like, it was feeling very homey. And I'm assuming this helps, it's very comparatively relaxing to being in a hospital.
Yeah,
So,
actually, just because I like how quickly you've just gone over that. Let's talk about your labor and birth experience.
Oh my God, guys. I don't, I thought, I was in my head, I was telling myself, I have so many tattoos. Like, I feel like I've been through things that are painful enough for this labor thing to not be that hard. So when I started having when I started having contractions on the when was my son born? 20th of February, on like the 19th in the morning. No, 20th morning. Like 5 a.m. It was just like, oh, okay, that's a cramp. Oops, yeah, feels like I'm in labor. So I even told my sister, hey, I feel like I'm having contractions. I was just like, mostly my back is uncomfortable, it felt a bit like exaggerated cramps. It was like 5 in the morning or whatever. So I tell her, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm almost just like, okay, what I suggest, because of course she has 2 kids, so she knows I'm nowhere near it if I'm here texting her stories,
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay. So I showered, I had breakfast, still like, oh, okay, that's uncomfortable, okay. And so this happened for most of the morning till like maybe 1 p.m. When now I was like, yeah, okay, I guess I'm dying now. Yeah, this, yeah, probably dying. And I was getting very irritated by how nonchalant my sister was about my contractions. She was just like, yeah, no, just sit on the ball and just breathe through it. It's just like, shut up. What do you mean breathe? No, what am I breathing? It's painful. What is there to breathe? I don't understand. And then I'm calling the doula and she's like, oh, how far apart are they? And at this point it was maybe like 5 minutes apart and like 1 minute length or whatever. And she's just like, yeah, no, don't worry about it. You're still a bit far. It's like, how am I far? I'm dying. How is this far?
Yeah.
This is not, I mean, like, it felt like this should be the end of the this should be the end of the contraction situation. But so I was at home from just doing this process from about like 1 to 5, 5 or 6. We lived in Kiambu at the time. The birthing center was at Kilimani. So between this point, I'm sitting on the ball, I'm trying to walk around, I'm trying to eat, like trying to be a functional human, which, stopped being possible at like 3 p.m. Because now they were getting closer together. It was like now 2 minutes apart, 1 minute length. And still the doula is like, and my sister like, you're still telling us that it's painful, which means it's not painful yet. Like it's not gotten to as bad as it can be if you're still discussing, telling us with your words that you're dying. And I was just like, this feels irresponsible. I was just like, okay, call me an ambulance. You guys do not take this seriously. It's okay. I can go to a hospital now. They remove the guy and me, I continue with my life. But my sister really helped. So she ran a hot bath for me with some essential oils, which actually made it worse. My contractions came significantly faster. But just warm bath was really nice. I was just in the tub, contracting, and then I'm just like, wow, okay, yeah, I'm very close to death here. So at around 6 p.m. So please note, I started my 4 contractions at 5 a.m. when I thought I was in labor. By 6 p.m. I was like, you're dying. You're dead. In fact, you're passed away. You're like, this, what? I was just like, hey, what will they say at my funeral? I really thought I was dying. But anyway, so my sister now calls her husband and they drive me down to the birthing center. Every bump was a fresh contraction and it was obscene.
And it's rush
Yeah,
hour,
it was
right?
obscene. Yeah, it was rush hour. It was obscene. And they're both so calm. And I wasn't enjoying that. I felt like they should share in my panic and just like, why is this level of pain something that people are comfortable with? Like,
Yeah.
shouldn't we
Yeah.
be overreacting? Same, as in, I'm not getting. Anyway, so we get to the birthing center at about 7. She's there, the doula is there. With one of her other doulas, the two of them. And then the room I was going to, or the rooms are purposefully upstairs because they want you to walk as much as possible and whatever. And I
Ah.
was so annoyed by that that I'm telling her, I'm like, I can't, it's really painful. The contractions are coming now harder. And she's like, let's go upstairs. How will I get upstairs? Who is taking me upstairs? Like, walk? No. How? Like, and when I'm in pain, similar to when I'm hungry, I'm not very polite. So I don't think I was like the nicest person to them. Yeah, so I'm just like, how does she think I'm getting up these stairs? Like, anyway, so they helped me up the stairs, and now I'm in this very calm room and very well put together. The water is ready, it's warm. It's just like, okay, when you're ready, you can get in the water. So I was just there, same thing for another like long time. So I got there at 7, and now my contractions are 1 minute apart. So I guess I was in active labor now,
Yeah.
and they're still both very calm. My sister is here giving me juice, reward. Before I got there, I was telling her to make sure that I'm looking cute. No need to look ratchet when Ati pass me the gloss. It's what. Vanity. Anyway, but this point for active labor, she's trying to give me water. I'm like, listen, I don't need water. Stop giving me water. What I need is for people to remove this person or call an ambulance. Me,
Yeah.
if you're not taking me seriously, it's fine. But I remember the point at which I was just like, yeah, because my water hadn't broken at this point. So I'm in labor, my water is still very much intact. So at like maybe 9 now, I had the most vicious contraction. Like I even told my sister, okay, now I'm dying. Like I said it out loud. And I said, this is the contraction that will kill me. No, this is the one. I know
Yeah.
I've been saying that from like one, but this one,
Yeah.
I'm dead. And I think I blanked out for a second. And then just like my water broke. And I don't like doing movies. It's like like two drops of gentle a trickle. It was an explosion of like I was just like, what the fuck is this? Sorry. Like what is this? I was just like, I was like, what? I didn't even know. I was just like unsure. It felt like I'd been shot. This is what I think people who have been shot feel. Really shot
Yeah.
in the vagina. I was shot. Like it was a bullet and I was dying. Anyway, so yeah, so after this now I go to the back because I kept coming out of the tub and just like walking around, going on the bed and, on my knees. Like the good thing is you can do whatever you want. So it's not like sit in this position, push out this creature, this person.
Yeah.
It was like moving around. I'm on my knees. I was on the bed. I was in the water. So I really had a lot of room to do what I wanted. So at this point, I go back to the water, and then yeah. So we keep contracting, and then I just remember like I think it's called like the ring of fire. It's not a figure of speech.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
literally a flame. It's a I don't know how to describe it. It's like unajua when you wakisha your gas and then that fire comes on the thing. Yeah, that's how it felt. It felt like someone had lit me on fire after the bullet, lit me on fire. And so I guess his head was tracking, which
Oh.
was like, wow, bro, wow, that was like I was always very shocked by the fact that it could get worse in terms of the pain.
Yeah.
You don't expect it. Like I'm always like, this is definitely the most painful thing I felt. It's not. Like it just keeps going until now that final point, which is like the ring of fire. Yeah, so baby comes out at 10:30. Um, and they're there, very excited and all. And I'm just like, wow, never doing this again. I think this is literally the first thing I said. Like, she's like holding the baby, like, oh, my sister cuts the cord. They're like, oh, look, it's so cute, he's so little. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, I am never doing this again. And they're
Yeah.
just like, ha, and I stop laughing. I'm serious. Anyway, so whatever. So they cut the thing, and he was fine. Healthy, just like so small, so small. I was just like, how is this a guy? He's just like so tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was my birthing experience. You know how people are like, the minute I saw my baby cried, love was spewing. I felt a new, no, I didn't. I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, oh hi, okay. That's done.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. Can someone get me juice or something? Like I was just like, it was very transactional in my head. Of course, looking back, it was probably like a mix of depression. Like there was probably some mental stuff going on there. But yeah, I didn't feel anything. I was just like, okay, I have to feed the guy. He didn't latch on very well initially, so I was just like now stressed about whether he's going to eat.
Mm-hmm.
Checking regularly if he's alive. Just like, oh gosh, I don't know. Like I was like, I don't know, I was so worried the worst thing would happen. So I didn't really have any time to think about the miracle that is me not dying from labor and
Yeah.
actually, giving birth to a real human. So it was very transactional for a very long time. Like I took him home, I was like, okay, um, yeah, he's here. Um, he had colic, so he would cry every day at 6 p.m. So me, every day at 5:30, I would have severe anxiety. Like at 5:30, I would be crying before he starts
Mm-hmm.
crying at 6.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, my sister was there, so she just knew. Like she could tell, okay, this one is about to like she's about to lose it, and so she'd take the baby, and he would cry for his hour and then sleep. So for the first 3 months, honestly, for me, it wasn't. I was just like, yeah, when can I go back to the office?
Mm-hmm.
So that I
Mm-hmm.
can do grown up things.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel very motherly. I just felt responsible, almost like when you buy a car and you have to fuel it or add coolant.
Yeah.
It's not an emotional experience. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's me who bought it. I should take care of the thing, right? Like I should take care
Mm-hmm.
of the car. That's how I felt. Yeah, so it was very transactional. I was like, yeah, I you didn't ask me to be here. I gave birth to you, so I have to feed you. I have to put you to bed. I have to change your diapers. Try to create for him a routine, which he did very well.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very calm baby, aside from the colic screaming. He was a very calm baby. So we very easily built a routine. He was out of my bed by like the first month. Of course, the fatigue of like, I don't know if I put the baby in the bed or like in his bed, or is he here and he fell? Did I sleep on him? Like, so for me, it was so anxiety riddled and just detached until like the fog lifted maybe 3 months later. And I was like, oh, he's so cute and so little. And now I start to experience the whole, um, I'm a mom and I'm very attached, and I want to go everywhere with him, and no, don't touch him. Okay, no, don't look at him like that. Oh no, no, like now I'm overprotective and all this. So it took me a while to start to experience motherhood. But when I did, it was yeah, the mix of like love and responsibility, and just like he has to be better than me and has to have more than I did when I was younger, and I have to do better for him and all these things, which is still a huge driving factor for me. And so I spent a lot of time becoming, almost like becoming him,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or him becoming me. So there was no
Yeah.
separation between me and this little human. But that wasn't very helpful for me. I'm very prone to depression and anxiety, and so that wasn't very helpful for me. It only made things worse, me getting into that space.
Mm-hmm.
So very early on, like maybe 2 months after now realizing I love my baby, which was like 5 months later, I
Yeah.
also realized that I need to remain myself. And I had to very deliberately say, yeah, of course I want to be a good mom and I want to spend time with you, but that can't be at the detriment of my mental health, or doing things for myself. Like I will buy you diapers and I'll
Mm-hmm.
buy you whatever, but I will also buy myself a useless expensive watch because I like
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
um and I will also take the day off, 2 days. I'll go to Cape Town when you're 6 months, like
Mm-hmm.
still thinking of myself as an individual, and him just being part of that individual and not the entire, that like I am a mother, but I am his mother, but that is not the only thing that I am. And yeah, so very quickly just became quite comfortable. He's also very independent, which is great. So he wasn't a very needy child, which is good for me because I'm also that type of person. Yeah, and we got into a rhythm, and now we're just boys. Like he's yeah, we chill, we hang out, he makes noise. Yeah, he comes to make some noise.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's very much, yeah, after the first few months where I was in a different mental space, it's been such a lovely journey. I mean, I'm meeting. No, later.
oh, sounds so. Does he usually come to your meetings actually? Does he do
Yes,
that a lot?
regularly. He
Okay.
says hi. Yeah, all the time, all the time, all the time. Even the people who my team knows him. Then oh hi, my main man. Like they chat
Oh.
kidogo. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
So it's
mm-hmm.
yeah, it's commonplace.
All through your entire story, I think you've
Mm.
mentioned Ari's dad once or twice, right? So definitely you've lived your life as a single mom. What are kind of those decisions that you've had to make?
I don't know that it's very different. So I've been thinking about this whole concept of single motherhood and um, what the actual like. Where does this concept come from? Is it the fact that there is no the other parent, the other participant is not like I've been really trying to understand it. But my point is, from the very beginning, aside from those things for society requiring that there's the fact that there's two parents basically really bugged me, like from an emotional perspective, like oh in school what he tell his friends, the things like that cross my mind occasionally. But over time, I've realized there's really nothing single about my journey at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's I'm not doing anything alone ever ever.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a really good support system from not even support system. I have a lot of friends who consider themselves my child's parents.
Yeah.
And when I'm not there, they'll pick him up, take him to school. They will take him to hospital. They have his cards. They have his, like so. There's nothing singular about my journey.
Mm-hmm.
For the very beginning, I had my sister, her husband, the kids, and I would go to work and not bat an eyelid because I know 100%. In fact, he's potentially safer with them than he is with me.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I've never, after the first few months, I've never really felt alone. Like it's never felt like a singular journey, and that's maybe me speaking from a privileged perspective. Of course, I do have to make some decisions around my time in terms of the fact that I am where the money comes from,
Yeah.
but I am also the sole parent. Um, if I have to travel for work, if I have to travel for arenage, if I have to um, anything, it means that I'm taking away from his time or the time that I could have potentially spent with him.
Yeah.
Those are the decisions I have to make, but those are the decisions every parent has to make,
True.
right? So
True. True.
it's
Yeah.
not like you guys are like, oh, like even families with two parents still have to make these decisions. So
100%.
I don't feel like I've had to make any, like I'm experiencing anything that a two-parent home family doesn't experience. When I need to travel, I go. There's always someone. Even my nanny is always here. Great, they love each other a lot. I've just never felt that I've had to make any decisions extreme that would mean that this is a symbol of single motherhood. It's just felt that the only thing that's different here is his interaction with his father, his biological father, and that's not my decision.
Mm-hmm.
So his loss, right? So it's
Yeah.
just how it's drawing a boundary and saying my child's life, if you're there, you have to be consistent, you have to be honest, you have to be trustworthy. If you
Mm-hmm.
can't, feel free to exit.
Yeah.
It's easier to explain that someone was not able to be something than to explain why someone is not something. So
Mm-hmm.
and this is a demand I put on everyone in my life. It's
Mm-hmm.
just, if we are friends, you are consistent, you are honest, you are trustworthy. If I call you, like these are demands across board. It's not necessarily because you're a father. Every other decision is on his part. So I
Yeah.
haven't had to do anything outside the regular realm of parenting that every
Mm-hmm.
other person has to do.
Is he actively involved? Ama, he is just like a
I've not
passive.
even spoken to him. Like, I think we saw each other when he was 6 months. My son was 6 months old.
Mm.
So it's a long time ago. I only speak to him because, and hopefully I can change this soon, but like if I need to do a passport or a travel document,
Yeah.
according to the laws of Kenya, I need to ask for permission from a person who doesn't know if his child is alive or not, but it's
True.
okay. Um, yeah, so that's the only reason we interact, and I don't mind at all. I don't mind it at all. Yeah.
What does
hmm
a day in your life look like with your son?
Yeah, because now we work from home, which has been quite the privilege, to be honest. I didn't realize. Um, yeah, I didn't realize how much I miss, or how many things how many silly little things he does that I would have typically missed if I was in the office. Like my
Yeah.
son will pee in the grass. He will climb the kabati to grab his own crisps. Like
Yeah.
he's such an adventurous soul, and so I really have enjoyed watching that part of him, and I try so hard not to restrict him. So I'm just like, okay, cool, do you, bro? Unless I see you jumping off a roof, I'm not gonna fight you. If it's not going to kill you, do you, which has been great. But anyway, so he typically wakes up at like 6:45, which is absurd for any human being. Like I don't know who does that, but he wakes up at 6:45, and he'll come into my room, and yeah, we'll just talk for a while. He'll maybe have his tablet and watch a cartoon or whatever. So we'll spend like an hour or so in bed together before I have to wake up for the day. Um, so typically my meetings will start at 9, but also grateful because my job isn't that type of job. Like I don't have, I have to look busy for 10 hours in the day.
Yeah.
So if my meetings start at 10, I can easily start to work at 10 and just hang out with him for a little. Yeah. So busy days, I'll just be in the office. Sometimes he'll be sitting with me in the office. Sometimes I'll be holding him on the lap during my meetings. So it's very much a part of my day. When I can't have the distraction, I'm speaking to external people from work. I have a really great nanny, so they'll go for walks, they'll go play with the dog, they'll go play with cows, and he's like having the time of his life. Yeah, he'll nap in the middle of the day, and then in the evening, I'll bath him, or the nanny will bath him, depending on his mood. Sometimes it's just like he doesn't want, which is fine. Like I don't
He
want, I
doesn't
want Claire
want
to wash
you.
me.
Wow.
Yes, sometimes it's, I want Claire to wash me. Okay, fine, let's not fight. Yeah, so we'll do that. Then he'll have his dinner, and then he sleeps at 7:30. So we'll do our bedtime routine. We'll read a book. We'll pray. Typically, he'll just be like telling me stories of his day. He'll be like, and then I saw the cows, and then I saw the what, which is his pride. He's like, amen. I'm like, yes.
When you
Mm.
said that when you gave birth to him, you didn't think you'd ever do it again. Right
Yeah.
now, do you still feel the same way that you would not do this
Oh
again?
my god. I hate hormones. They're the worst. So my sister came here with her cute little 1-year-old, who is like, oh my god, my nephew, he's so small and so cute.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm like, okay, fine. Would one kill me? So I definitely want a baby. I'm just not attached to where it comes from. So I'm open to adoption. I do want a little baby. One day. Not soon, but maybe.
I don't think I need to say anything about this story. After my big rant at the very beginning of the episode and you listening to her story, I think all is said and done. Although she did say that she is very open to answer any questions that one might have. So if you have any queries that you have for Namara, and I think even for the other moms who've been on here, I have a feeling that they won't have any issues answering anything. So if you have questions, please pass them along and I will make sure that they get to the right people. But anyway, I was very jealous of her journey. At least that sense of like her very holistic pregnancy period, as well as her giving birth experience, like at the birth center. And the birth center closed down pretty soon after she gave birth. I remember something about like government regulations and stuff like that. But I will leave details about her doula. Her name was Lucy. I'll leave details there and Eve's mama and everything there. So just in case you might want to reach out to them and have that kind of experience. So just a quick update on like the podcast stuff and the site, especially if you haven't had a chance to look at it, please do. So that's mamatilspodcast.com. I have been working slowly on it. There's still some things that I wished I had up that I still don't have yet, but just know that I'm continually working on making it very, very valuable, because it needs to feel like this one-stop shop for everything Mama Tales, and that's what I'm working for. But what I wanted to highlight right now is that there is a story submission link. So like a really short form that you can fill up if you're interested in sharing your story. So just visit the website, mamatilspodcast.com. I'll leave all the details here. I'll also try and see where else I can put that link to the form. And also you can still reach me on email or on DMs. I am very, very happy to hear from moms who are interested in sharing a story. And please remember that your story is powerful. One thing I've learned throughout this entire journey and talking to moms in general is that we each have our unique experiences, and none can look like the other, but there's always so much that we can learn from each other. So just remember that your story is very, very powerful, and I usually record them virtually at your own convenience. So hey, that's always a plus. All right, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We are getting really close to the end of the season, but I have a couple of episodes that are really, really exciting that I cannot wait to share. So looking forward to that. And then we take a little break to regroup, rethink, and reevaluate this beautiful platform that is Mama Tales. Until next time, goodbye.